Many Roman Catholics in America are displeased that the Vatican is not adopting a zero-tolerance policy for priests who sexually abuse children and teenagers. This morning, Boston's Cardinal Law assured his parishioners zero tolerance is already the rule in his archdiocese. CNN's Jason Carroll reports.
Cardinal Law, could we have a word with you, sir?
Boston's embattled Cardinal Law avoided reporters who have a number of questions for him. Instead, Law addressed parishioners at the Cathedral of the Holy Cross on Sunday, and for the first time, publicly gave his insight into the outcome of last week's Vatican meetings with U.S. cardinals.
I came back from that meeting very encouraged that we're moving in the right direction. There's been some discussion in the press about the question of zero tolerance, and I just want to make it clear that the Archdiocese of Boston has already implemented a policy.
Cardinal Law's public appearances are rare, but his low profile has not stopped problems from following him. His critics are angered over a letter sent by the Archdiocese to priests. They say it discourages priests from supporting a proposal by church members to form an advisory council made up of lay people. Critics are baffled by the letter, since they say U.S. cardinals meeting at the Vatican encourage the idea of getting lay people more involved in the church and dealing with its problems.
It seems like the wrong message, the wrong tone at the wrong time, and it's almost unbelievable.
The Archdiocese says in the letter the type of council being proposed already exists. Adding another one would be divisive.
You have lost your credibility and trust.
The community is already divided over whether Law should stay or resign.
It's a tough time for the Cardinal, you know. I think it takes more courage to stay than to go.
Cardinal Law did not talk about calls for his resignation during Mass. He did suggest that the issue of zero tolerance would be addressed at the National Conference of Bishops meeting. So far, he has given every indication he will attend that meeting in June. Jason Carroll, CNN, Boston.
Roman Catholics in Maine were shocked today when a priest there was stripped of his post, removed amid charges of sex abuse alleged to have taken place 25 years ago. Here now to discuss the ongoing sex scandal and the calls for reform is Phil Saviano with the Survivors Network of Those Abused by Priests. Thanks a lot for joining us tonight. Mr. Saviano, no national policy yet on priests who abuse adolescents and young people. As a victim, how do you feel about that?
Well, as a victim, I'm wondering what's taking them so long. I mean, this has been a problem in the news for over 10 years now. And I have to say that we had great expectations for this meeting of the Cardinals and the Pope in Rome, and what we have as a result, unfortunately, is great disappointment. We're hoping that the bishops, when they meet in June, will get their act together, so to speak, and come out with a national policy, because we sorely need one.
And what do you believe that national policy should be? Should it be zero tolerance?
Well, absolutely. Zero tolerance, not only from this point forward, but also retroactively. Any priest who is reported to a bishop as having molested a child should be immediately turned over to civil authorities. It's the civil authorities, after all, who are trained in doing criminal investigations. They're the ones that should be involved. The other thing is that the priest should be immediately removed from his assignment. The parishioner should be told why he's being removed. And there should be an investigation conducted right away.
Cardinal McCarrick of Washington said today that there was some division of opinion amongst the cardinals, that some of them felt that there should be zero tolerance when it comes to future charges of abuse, but when it concerns events in the past, perhaps there should be a more discretionary approach. I can guess what your opinion is, but tell me your thoughts on that.
Well, I think that they're setting themselves up for more trouble in the future. In my experience, it's very, very rare for a priest who's molested a child not to do it again at some point in the future. And just because, for example, if an example that's given is that a priest may have one report, say 20 years ago, and nothing that's been reported since then. But my experience is that many victims do not come forward for many, many years, sometimes 20, sometimes 25 years. So for a bishop to assume that only one allegation means that the priest has never done it again is really, I think, making a mistake, setting himself up for trouble, and continuing to put children at risk. And there's no need for it.
Does it matter really if there was one case or if there were several, or is wrong simply wrong, and should that priest be removed?
No, the priest should be removed, absolutely. Listen, anybody that would do this to a child, as the Pope said himself this past week, there's no room in the priesthood for anyone who would harm a child. And we're hoping that the cardinals will take the Pope's message to the bishops in Dallas and that they will come up with a policy of their own, which will take that as an initial first step and then build on that to make it even stronger.
There's been a lot of talk about pedophilia involving young boys, but there are also women, young women, who've been victims. Are they getting their share of attention here?
No, they're not, and I'm very pleased that you've brought this up, because I've been hearing from many women in the last couple of weeks, women who were molested when they were little girls, and they're very angry to think that some of the cardinals think that this is just a gay issue, for example. I think it was the cardinal from Detroit who said that the solution to this problem is to stop ordaining gay men. But he's ignoring all of the women that have been molested, and frankly, it's an insult to these poor women, and they're getting very angry about it. We had a support group meeting here in Boston on Wednesday night, and half of the victims that showed up were women. So the fact that the cardinals don't quite see this as part of the problem, I think, is very troubling, and it shows me that they don't quite grasp the essential elements of this problem.
Phil Saviano, we have to leave it there, but thanks so much.
Thank you very much.